All right, so I've got recording started and now we are going to present. So today I'm going to be talking about project managing the job search. This is a very, very, very important content or topic for anyone who is in the job search, because you're going to be applying for more jobs than you thought you would need to. There is no average number of jobs you need to apply to, but I tell most students that I'm working with or alumni that in my last two job searches, which were 3 years ago and 4 years ago, I applied easily to over 50 jobs. And my target market is relatively small in terms of higher ed roles. So I've had students who've applied for 100 jobs. I've had students apply for more. And the scale can be challenging to manage quality. And quality is very, very important, right? Because every job that you apply to is one that you might get an interview for. So the main purpose of tonight's presentation is go through some tips and tricks about how to maintain quality, but also create a really efficient process at the same time. And it is a process. This applies for a job search or an internship search, really in general. You will want to apply to any posting that you're actually honestly interested in. I'm working with a student right now who finished her MBA last year, and she has probably applied to about 60 jobs. And she continues to apply for the roles that she's interested in, and we continue to work on tailoring her documents. So let's get into some of the tips. This is the topics slide. You can see we're going to talk about organizing the search itself. We'll talk about some tips for tailoring the documents, because that's really how we're going to measure quality. We'll talk a little bit about social media in this space as well, and networking, because according to some statistics, 85% of jobs are never posted. There's a lot of things you can do around networking that will get you closer to the job you want. We'll also talk about how to build a community of searchers, and then how to stay on top of trends, which I think is a really important part of the search. So first, in terms of the search, I'm going to highlight here this image on the right-hand side is one of our career library documents where we have a lot of this basic advice in terms of how to organize the job search. You'll see the back side of this document on the next slide. But essentially, we recommend creating a spreadsheet. I use Google Sheets because it's in the cloud and I can share it when I'm working with someone else on something. I create a spreadsheet that includes every part of the search. And so this is kind of the template that we recommend. And one of the links I will share with you guys in the follow-up email tomorrow is a link to a spreadsheet template that you can duplicate and use for yourself. You're going to have edit access, so don't go, I mean, if you put your job postings in there, that's fine, but everyone who has edit access will be able to see that. So I would recommend duplicating it and then creating it yourself. So, but essentially on the job search page, there's going to be multiple tabs. On one tab, it's just going to be the search, right? These are the columns we recommend on that page. I'm going to walk through these columns. Some of them are very obvious why they're functional. Some I'll explain a little bit in more detail. Interest level is really important because, like I said, if you're applying to, let's say, 20, 30 jobs a week, you're not going to apply to every posting you find that week, especially because within the job market, there's going to be big peaks and valleys, right? So in a peak time, you might find 40, 50 jobs that you're like, I don't know, this might be interesting to me. I'm not sure. And we want you to rate it, at least at the time in which you put it in the spreadsheet. This is really kind of like a shopping list. Rate it 1 to 5 in your level of interest, because that way, this will help you efficiently use your time if you have an extra 30 minutes you can spend that you didn't know you had. That'll help you pick which ones you want to prioritize. Another thing you're going to use to prioritize is the posting date. It's very important to know that many employers do not remove postings that are out on job boards after they've been filled in a timely manner. So if you see a job that's been up for 2 weeks, there's a chance it's been filled. If you see a job that's been up for a month, there's a good chance it's been filled. I'm not going to guarantee it has, but I would use posting date as a way to prioritize your search. Some jobs get reposted, meaning maybe you had applied to it 2 months ago and it just got reposted and it looks like it was posted recently. That might mean they've started the search over, but it's just something to pay attention to. And this relates to deadline, which is another one of these columns. Most postings will have a rolling deadline. Very rarely, but it does happen, you will see a job posting that has an explicit deadline, meaning any application received by this date will be reviewed. Then you know you have until that date and you can prioritize based on that. But in general, you're going to assume the deadline is rolling based on when they get an application they're interested in. You're also going to track status in terms of, did you submit? Did you not submit? Are you getting a screening interview? Are you getting a other kind of interview, etc.? The link is really important. A pro tip I have is, if for any job you apply to that you're truly interested in, I would take a screenshot of that job description or copy and paste it into a document somewhere. Because what you'll find is, especially if you're applying to many jobs, you will find that you will get an interview and then you won't be able to find that job posting anymore because maybe they did remove it in a timely manner. And then you're like, oh, I don't remember all the details of what was in that posting. So I typically will copy and paste the entire job posting into my document that I'm using to write the resume and cover letter. And then when I download the resume and cover letter for my application, I will only download those pages, but I will at least have the residue at the bottom of that document be the job posting itself. So that's kind of a pro tip as you start getting a lot of interviews. And then most importantly, this is the key to the efficiency of this process, is labeling the type of role that you're applying to. Depending on how narrow your search is, you might have 1 or 2, you might have as many as 7 or 8 types of roles. So for example, if you want to do public accounting, you're probably going to have 1 or 2 resumes and cover letters. If you are someone who is interested in a marketing role, but you're open to a nonprofit, you're open to a healthcare space, you're open to a creative agency, you might have 6 or 7 different resume cover letter combinations. And they're not going to be entirely different, but they will be tailored. And the reason we want to document the type of role is because the next time you apply for a role that fits that category, you won't have to sit down and think, which application was it that was most similar? Which application was the one application that I could use as my template? You'll have these labels to guide you. And so I have an example here of what that could look like. This is for, oh, did I not put, sorry. Let me just see if it's over here. There we go. I should have moved this slide. This is what that looks like. So for example, these are the appropriate kinds of labels. And again, depending on the types of role you're looking for, you might have very specific labels. You might have more general labels, but you can see this is someone who's graduating with a poli-sci background, who's looking for anything in these buckets: policy research, community outreach, data and policy research. And what you can start to see is, as she's labeling these types of roles, you can see that that second, community outreach, she's already got that resume and cover letter written for that previous one. She pops it open, she tweaks it a little bit, and then she's ready to go. This is going to really affect your immediacy. Sorry, I don't know why I have that slide in a weird spot. So in terms of tailoring your documents and how important it is, the number one reason you want to do this is because almost every job, every resume goes through an applicant tracking system, and that applicant tracking system is looking for keywords. So you want to comb through the job description and make sure that you're achieving the correct keywords. You're incorporating them in your accomplishment statements, in your professional profile, in your skills section, your technology section. You want to make sure you get those keywords, and they are going to differ a little bit from job to job. Now, we talked about those job categories. Generally, those will correlate, but every once in a while you might see, let's say, a marketing job that wants you to know WordPress versus a marketing job that wants you to know any content management system. So in that case, you're going to make sure, do you have the word WordPress in your resume, or do you have the language content management system in your resume? So that's kind of, the tailoring is really important because that's what's going to get your resume looked at. This is another handout we have in our career library about tailoring your documents. And it kind of goes into the biggest differences between some of your resumes. I'll talk a little bit at the end about a summary. The summary that you would use at the top of your resume would be one of those things that would be tailored very specifically. The skill keywords would be tailored. And then in the cover letter, there's a couple spots you're gonna tailor, particularly like why you're ready for a particular role. Let's actually, I'm gonna dip out. I would just wanna get a little deeper into the cover letter. And like I said, feel free to throw a question in the chat or feel free to just unmute and ask a question. I'm going to show you quickly our cover letter handout because I'm going to show you exactly what part of the cover letter you're going to be tailoring. So if you go into our career library on our website, you can see we have all of these handouts. I'm going to open up the cover letter handout and show you exactly where you're going to want to tailor. Sorry, it's a PDF, so it's going to take a second. So this is probably gonna be a little hard to see, but the way we structure a cover letter typically is going to include a strong claim at the top. So in this case, the strong claim in the first paragraph is gonna say, my robust experience in nonprofit marketing and data visualization, my academic background in research design, and my passion for connecting diverse communities to health-focused resources make me a great candidate for this position. That is going to be slightly different for every job you apply to in terms of cultivating understanding of what that blank, blank, and blank really connects to that job. And typically that blank, blank, and blank is skills, experience, and then passion or interest, or sometimes more skills. So that'll be tweaked. The other thing you'll end up tweaking is this section here, which is why this role. And we always talk about the section as starting with, I am particularly excited about this role or this position because. Now that will be tweaked as well because you'll have to align your career goals, your experience to this particular role and this particular employer. Of course, you're also going to tweak right at the top. I just want to say this for sure. Like I'm applying for, this job. You'll change that. You'll change the regarding job code, etc. But the two main edits you're going to make in your cover letter are here and here. I'm particularly excited. These two paragraphs that really provide evidence of this first section aren't going to change much depending on what experience you're highlighting in this first strong claim section. So this is just an illustration of kind of what you change quickly. I'm going to show you the summary. In this presentation, I don't go over the summary, so let me just dip. Sorry, I'm just moving around a little bit. This is the first time I've done project managing on its own, but I do want to make sure that I show you guys quickly the kind of summary you would edit. And that summary is in a different presentation that I give sometimes, and I'm giving later on this quarter. All right, so it's in my updated job and internship search presentation. I'm just going to pop over here, then we'll get back into the presentation. It is in... not projects, not mapping your resources. Did I skip it? Pro tip, resume summary, here it is. Okay, so I really love using a resume summary. This is a new handout we just developed. I will attach it to the email that I send you guys. But this is another thing that would be tweaked very easily for your different job applications. So you can see at the top, you're gonna typically start with your name, your contact information, etc. A resume summary just sits at the top underneath your name and really makes a strong claim about you. Similar to the sentence in the cover letter paragraph, but even sometimes fragmented. So these examples are cinematographer, videographer, storyboard artist, producer, and editor with experience in feature film, da-da-da. Or emerging events and PR professional, or mental health professional passionate about. Like, this is a great place to get a ton of skills and to tailor the summary in your resume then makes it easier for the reader to see immediately how you connect to this job. So this will definitely be one of the main focuses of what you're going to tailor. But once you work out what the summary would be for the different kind of roles that you're applying to, then you're not doing any creative writing and any heavy editing after that. In the resume, you're certainly going to cull for keywords. You're going to look at your experience sections and see if they need to be reordered, or if your job title should have different language, but the summary is one of the major edits I would make according to the different roles that I was applying to. So I'm just gonna hop back. Any questions right now about tailoring the resume, customizing the cover letter, any of that? All right, if you change your mind, unmute anytime or just pop a question in the chat. We'll get back into project managing the job search. The other thing you're gonna wanna do as part of this process is really check in with your social media. We have a handout here in the career library about really all the things you need to check in on. But at the start of your search, make sure, if anything, that your LinkedIn is doing its job. And so like on this handout, we talk about really like also using your social media to connect in the industries that you're searching. So pre-pandemic, let's say for example, you were an events person. Pre-pandemic, you probably had a set of network folks in traditional events businesses, right? Maybe hospitality roles, et cetera. Post-pandemic or mid-pandemic, really, a lot of that event work has dried up. So maybe now you're like, well, I could be more in the digital engagement space. So make sure that you're actually doing social media and networking into those spaces as well. And then make sure particularly that LinkedIn works. Now, the one challenge for LinkedIn, unlike the resume, which we can customize, and the cover letter that we can customize, one of the LinkedIn challenges is that you're gonna have a single LinkedIn profile. So what you wanna do is make sure that the LinkedIn profile that you have works as what I call an umbrella for all the types of roles you're trying to apply to. It doesn't have to be super specific. It doesn't have to be in search of a job doing digital media, blah, blah, blah. It could be, you know, this kind of professional with skills in this. It could look a little more like a more general version of the summary that we talked about, but the LinkedIn has to work like an umbrella for all those kinds of roles. And so in general, it will be more general depending on how far apart the jobs are that you're searching for. But you do want to make sure that LinkedIn has the skills on there that you've decided to add to your resume and to customize, and that it's got like an about section that reads for all of that. The other thing you want to project manage is networking. Truly, this is the data point. 85% of jobs are filled by networking of some sort. And that doesn't just mean you're meeting people and they're saying, oh, hey, there's a job here. It also means you apply to a job and maybe you know someone at that employer and they get your resume put on the top of the pile. So that's what that might mean. I'm just gonna mute for a second so I can tell my son to turn his volume down. One moment. Sorry about that. All right, so I was just talking about LinkedIn. Okay, and networking. So networking, organizing your networking is just as simple as creating another tab on that job search doc. And like I said, I'll share a template with you guys that just tracks who they are, who your targets are. What's their employer? What kinds of questions do you have for them? You might target someone because of their employer. You might target someone because of the role they're in. You might target someone because they're a recruiter for a particular kind of job. There's a lot of different reasons to target them, but you can also track what industries they have knowledge of. And networking sounds scary to a lot of people, but really our easiest and best sample for this is really an informational interview. We have a great handout on how to set up an informational interview. And it truly is just setting up a time to have a conversation with someone about their career, about their pathway, about what they're doing. Often at the end, you might ask, hey, this has been great. Do you think there's someone else I should connect with? Like you can build on that, but really it is a conversation. And I do make sure people remember to start with people they know, family members, distant family members. It's not a bad way to start. LinkedIn and alumni sharing knowledge are also great sources for that. And like I said, we have a handout that really walks you through the process of asking for an informational interview. In terms of another really handy dandy tool for project management is really building a community of searchers. And if you can get yourself into a pair or a group of job seekers who hold each other accountable, and that's not in a scary way, that's in like a supportive way, you are going to get a lot more done. We started a job search club at DePaul this summer. We ran it a couple times this quarter. We didn't have much interest. We're thinking of reviving it in winter and particularly in spring. That's really more of a ask questions during this weekly meeting time. But a lot of local municipalities have job search accountability clubs that you can sign up for via libraries or via like kind of community centers, or just a couple of your friends. Like honestly, if you meet once a week and you just kind of either do your job search at the same time, throw each other a couple jobs, look at a couple resumes or cover letters for each other, it just builds, it helps you stay accountable. It makes it more of a social experience. And I think it's a good way to stay energetic around the job search. Even a weekly conversation with someone, you could meet a couple weeks in a row with a career advisor just to check in on the job search, get that ball rolling so that you're where you want to be. The community piece of it, though, is high impact, particularly in a world where we're all trapped behind our computers. And then staying on top of trends is actually, to me, a fun part of the job search process, in that this is the best interview prep you could do. This will also help you really refine your cover letters and resumes and help you have really great conversations with your networking targets. I think just getting out on LinkedIn, posting, following, listening to podcasts about the industry, this will keep you interested in those industries that you're excited about, but it'll also give you a leg up anytime you're having a conversation in one of those industries. Like you could be in an interview, a first round interview for a role, and you could say, hey, one of the trends I'm hearing a lot about is this. How is it impacting what you guys are doing? This part of it is both about energizing your search and staying on top of what you need to do in the tactical part of the job search, which is the cover letter, resume, keywords, and the interview. So I think that this part, I wouldn't undervalue this part. I think it's really useful. And it's helpful to just kind of curate a list of things that you're looking at around the industries you're looking for. There are professional associations for everything. Those should not be undervalued as a networking space as well. And there's like obviously a ton of free webinars, so this shouldn't necessarily cost you a lot of money. So this is kind of a screenshot of what the template is going to look like when I send it to you. This is really just the bottom part of a Google Sheets doc with all these tabs. You could certainly do this in Excel. The template I'm sending is going to be a Google Sheet. Google products are just easier for me to use. But you could download it as an Excel spreadsheet and use it that way. I just like having it on the cloud. But you can see the first tab is where you're going to keep your jobs. Really, and my recommendation, this works for me. It may not work for you. I like to job search, throw them on the spreadsheet, and then apply to a couple. I don't usually find a job, apply, find a job, apply. I have two parts of my brain, and one works on the search, one works on the application, and I like to do this at separate times. That might be different for you. So the jobs tab would obviously be the most important one. Networking targets, give yourself a goal, maybe have 2 or 3 targets per week of folks you're connecting with. You'll see some of the categories we have on that spreadsheet are, name, employer, reason why they're a target, maybe some questions you might ask. Trend links, that would just be a list of links where you're finding cool trends. You might give yourself, okay, the topic is this, here's a link I can check back at when I schedule an interview or some interesting, if I want to prep for my informational interview. Skills training is just a space, this is very optional. It's just a space for you to keep either a couple of skills that you want to upskill on, or some links to, YouTube videos or LinkedIn learning courses that you might take up at some point. Webinars, that obviously would be, I don't know if you would need a webinars and professional orgs tab, but if you had both, one would just be for like kind of keeping track of the webinars you've attended, because I can tell you I've attended a lot in the last 3 months and I don't remember the names of any of them. Or the professional orgs tab would just be all the kind of targets, maybe job, that would include potentially some professional orgs that have like job boards that you want to track. But if you can keep this all in one place, in one spreadsheet, This will just simplify the process so that when you're ready to work on your job search, you go to one sheet, one document, and then you work in there and you kind of progressively build up and build up. And I think you'll tweak it so that it's more appropriate for some of your processes. But this is really like, this is systematic, meaning what we're trying to do is take something that has a couple steps and make those steps as easy as possible, particularly the customizing the resume and cover letter, because in my opinion, that's the thing that takes the most time. We do have an event. First, I just want to make sure you guys know about the career library, but I also want to show you really quickly. Let me get into Handshake. We have an event coming up. Sorry, you're in a report section. You don't want to be there. Let me go to events. We have an event coming up that is an interactive job search marathon. I'm just going to search marathon so I can show you the flyer. We have a couple more events this quarter. The one I'm doing tomorrow is creative resume design. So if you're in a creative field at all, and you think you want to do a resume that looks a little different, or if you just want to see what a creative resume looks like, that's happening tomorrow at 4. And if you RSVP for that, you'll get the recording and the slide deck sent to you. I'm just going to show you the preview page for this other event though. The other event that I just wanted to make sure you guys know about is the Job Search Marathon. And what we're going to be doing in this event is we're going to do 30 minutes of tactical advice and some pro tips. So, you know, if you've gone to any of my previous sessions, it may be a little redundant, the first 30 minutes. But after that, we'll have an hour in some smaller groups where we'll be doing a lot of peer-to-peer help, giving advice on resumes, finding employer and networking targets, and exploring relevant industries and finding jobs for folks to apply to. So this is a little different. This is the first time we're doing this. We're going to use breakout rooms to actually work in groups on this, and each breakout room will have a facilitator, which is why this event is capped at 50, because we only have so many rooms and so many folks we can do as part of this. But this is an experiment we're trying, and we're hoping it'll be a little more interactive than just you guys listening to me talk the whole time. But that's coming up on December 3rd on Thursday. This one will not be recorded because obviously it's more of an interactive experience than a content thing. And then the other event I just mentioned is the creative resume design. And what we'll really be focusing on in this event is kind of the line between readability and style. So I'm all for making things look interesting and look like something you want to do. But what we'll be really focusing on are what are the boundaries of like what's readable by an applicant tracking system and what's really acceptable to most employers. So that is this Thursday. Let me get back in here. Let me see what else I have. This went faster than I thought. I talk really fast though, so I apologize. Again, we are going to be doing skills labs next quarter. These are the ones that we've done this quarter. I'm in the middle of rescheduling the introduction to survey design, so that'll get rescheduled as soon as I talk to the person who was going to present it, probably early December. And then the last one, other than the rescheduled one, the creative resume design, is tomorrow. We also, if you're someone who's on an internship search, we have funding called Internship Plus. Those applications are due November 30th. Information's on our website, and the link will be functional in the deck that I send you guys. And basically, we want to make sure that you know that we're here for you. We have drop-in resume services, email resume, appointment scheduling, all kinds of stuff. And we really, just to be clear, we really are available for any kind of career conversation. I'm going to take questions, but really quickly, I'm going to stop sharing. And before I take questions, I'm going to send out our quick event checkout poll. This is how we kind of assess what we're doing for this quarter. But any questions on project managing the search? Or about our upcoming events, or any ideas for other upcoming events? I'm still planning winter, so I would love to hear topics of interest. Yeah.
I have a question about the about the applicant tracking system.
Yeah.
I wanted to know, I looked on the career library, and I wanted to know, like, do y'all have like what you have, like the PDF form of like the keywords that you could use or some type of information about the applicant tracking system?
We do have one handout. Let me, 1 second, I'm trying to, I'm somehow clicking around in here for no reason. I'm going to stop the